Our next guest, whom we speak to regularly, DeVell Morrison, broker with Bosley Real Estate Limited, who's joining us, found a great article that I think can help you with that connection. Good morning, DeVell. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. And I think you make it's a great. I'm so glad that you highlighted this. Why don't you tell us about this article that you found?
Yeah. So essentially, it's an interactive map on the Global News website that shows you where people died who fought in the First World War and the Second World War, so that it does bring it home. The other thing that I found was, so if you drive along Drury Street in the west end of our city, so Bloor West Village area, there is actually on the front lawn of one of the houses there, it basically gives you the bio of all of the men who were living in that area and where they lived, who died in the war. And, what's I think really interesting for people who can't connect is that when you look at their ages, these men were between 19 and 29 years of age. And I think all of us can relate to being those ages, but we also can't fathom having to go to war at those ages. So I think that's something really important for us to remember. Like, I feel like we're all weak, quite frankly, and we couldn't have done what they did. Yeah. And so I think we need to remember that.
Well, and listen, if all people have to do is Google it, a Grief's Geography Mapping Torontonians, and find that on the Global News website. And so I looked at it. It's a map of Toronto, and there are poppies that quite literally blanket the city. And each one of those poppies represents the address of a fallen soldier in the First and Second World Wars. And I clicked on the first one I saw, and it took me to 17 Tyndall Avenue. And it was, the description is of Leslie Ivor Kemshed, a private who died on the 3rd of April, 1917 at the age of 21. And was buried at Vimy Memorial in France. And then, of course, there's a link to get more information about that person. You could do that all day. You could click on poppies all day, and you still wouldn't get to the end of it. It is a way to connect, to remember that this city has buried more than its fair share of brave souls who went to war half a world away and sacrificed in the name of Canada. And so it's the perfect way, I think, and the easiest way to find that connection. Find somebody in your neighborhood. Click on the map and find an address in your neighborhood, and appreciate that in that house that you walk by every day used to live a young man or young woman, but back then it was mostly men, who got on a boat, got on a plane, and went to fight and died for Canada. I think it's a thank you very much for highlighting that for us, DeVell. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it really struck me as well, too. And I think it brings it home for a lot of people.
So, DeVell, let's shift to real estate. Just a few years ago, when I thought real estate in Toronto, it was all about clicking on the links to see, to look inside the houses and see what a house was going for these days. But more and more people are talking, not just when they think real estate, they think about the need for the city to have a housing plan to help those who are having a tough time just finding a place to live.
Yeah, absolutely. We all know that it's needed. We all know that we've hit crisis levels years ago. Yeah. So, the city of Toronto has come out with a $36 billion plan over the next 7 years, where they want to create 65,000 rental homes. But there's still a big question of where is this money going to come from? And, they're hoping that the provincial and the federal government contribute somewhere between 500 million to 800 million plus per year. And then the city wants to act as their own builder. So, this is radio. You can't see me rolling my eyes, but I'm rolling my eyes. Well,
and DeVell, listen, Olivia Chow, that this is important to her. This is that it's in her DNA to empathize with sort of the more marginalized in our community. So I know her heart is in the right place, but when you said, well, the city has a plan. Well, the city's had lots of plans over the years for lots of things that didn't materialize or that became boondoggles and far more expensive than they needed to be. So
absolutely. So, my thought is, Daniels Corporation, they partnered with Daniels to redefine and redo Regent Park, and they've done an incredible job. Mm-hmm. And so what they need to do is not act as the builder. They need to partner with private companies that do this in their sleep. because we know what's going to happen when the city of Toronto becomes the builder.
Yeah.
There's going to be cost overruns. It's basically going to be another Eglinton LRT. Good luck.
Well, Devel, it's going to require voices like yours, as well as those builders and those other stakeholders who can speak with authority on the matter, and hopefully the governments as well, who control the purse strings, who will be able to come in, have this conversation with Olivia Chow and her team, and say, great beginning. I'm just learning about the plan now, but let's assume it's a great plan. This is a great first step. But if you want our money, here are a few changes to the plan that we're going to need. And one of them is going to be, you don't get to be the builder. Like let the builders be the builders, let the government be the government, let the banks be the banks, and that sort of thing. And hopefully they can come to a place where these 65,000 homes actually get built at the price that they're quoted in the time frame required. I know that I sound like a broken record, but I still think that none of these houses are going to be ready in time for this first snowfall. I was just in Montreal and it was snowing there, which means we're about 2 or 3 weeks away from getting it here. And there are people who are living on the streets who have absolutely no chance of getting indoors when it gets really, really cold. And we have empty office buildings that we could put people in. We could rough out some plumbing, give them some showers and some bathrooms, and they could take over those office buildings, certain floors on the office buildings, after people go home from work, and we could keep them there and keep them warm over the course of the 3 or 4 months where they could die in the streets, and then give ourselves some time to really figure out a better plan.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't feel that our city is heading in the right direction. And case in point, this week when the Waterfront, Portland's transit issue came up, they're going to be doing all this building, or they want to do all this building for condos and new homes in the Portland's area. And oopsie, someone forgot to plan for transit. Oh. I'm in shock about that. Yeah. I just think this just goes to the point of we don't have our shit together. How could you not plan for transit in the Portland's area if you're planning for, they've done all this floodplain restoration and they've done all this heavy lifting, but oops, they forgot to deal with transit. It's shocking to me.
Well, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's par for the course. I know there are a lot of people working diligently, and there's just one, I can't explain it either. But it seems to me that this city sometimes thrives despite the people running it. That's just my opinion, and we'll develop on this Saturday. We're gonna leave it there, and thank you very much. And again, thank you for finding that interactive map. I think it's going to help a lot of people today, and we really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. This is Toronto This Weekend, and I'm Ben Mulroney. We'll see you soon.